Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. This is not a Car Chronicles day. I took a few moments of my day to have a little bit of lunch. I made some split pea soup and canned it. And the weather is turning cool in the morning. And so I thought today would be a good day to have a little bit of soup. So I wanted to come on here today and do a quick overview. I had to think about what I wanted to call it. The garden has changed a lot in the year and 10 months that I've created it. I have some form of garden on every side of my home. Front, back, and both sides. I've got something growing. And I'm excited about it. Some might think it's a lot. A lot of times it is a lot when it comes to the food garden. But as far as growing flowers, because I like the look of them. I like the fact that they bring in beneficial insects. I put flowers. I grew up with grandparents, grandmothers who both had a love for flowers. Both my grandmothers had flowers on the outside of their homes. I had one grandmother who not only had flowers on the outside of her home, she had plants on the inside of her home. She also had a small in-ground garden. And so the love of plants and flowers and food goes a long way back in my lineage. And so in 2024, I started out with a new garden. I started the garden, as I stated in the beginning, a year and 10 months ago. So my garden was new still. I wasn't sure what was going to come back. I wasn't sure what I was going to grow. I tried last winter to start some seeds. Not everything survived. I'm going to try something different this year. I am going to grow from seed, if you watch that video. And I am going to put at least the first one in an iCard so that you can see me starting my seeds indoors in my garage grow space. I told you then, and I will tell you now, I am not a seed starter in containers. I love to direct sow. I don't care for sowing seeds and having to watch over them and baby them. That's just more time and effort that I just don't always have to be able to utilize. I work outside the home. As you can see, I'm in the car because I'm at work. Today is one of my work outside the home days. And when I get home, I only have a few hours to do all the things. Unwind, prepare a meal, do whatever I need to do if I've got to go to the store. So right now, the sun goes down. Matter of fact, no, it's pitch black dark at 6 o'clock. So there's not much outdoor time right now. So I've got to do as much as I can from 4 to 6. And sometimes I can't do that. For instance, today, I've got some stuff going on after work. I won't get home until probably 5. So yeah, there's no time to do anything in the garden. And I really have got to start winterizing the garden because we've got at least one day this week where the temperature is going to dip down into the high 30s. It probably won't do hardly any damage, but I don't want to take the chance because I've been eating from my garden for a number of years. This is the first time the garden has been as prosperous as it's been. Many things have just taken off. Longevity spinach, okra, greens, collard, Malabar spinach. I keep the mustard in the garden until about probably June. When the weather starts to get really hot, mustards don't like hot, mustards don't like really cold. So my mustard greens, I don't have them in the garden for very long. My turnip greens, they're not as tender as mustard, but they're still tender. Collard greens, I have them in the garden all year round. So in the 2024 garden, I was able to grow a significant amount of brassicas, leafy greens. I still have some fruit trees. They will probably be doing a whole lot better if I put them in the ground. But I don't have a very large property. And my fear is if I put them in the ground and an opportunity comes where I can get some land, because that would be the goal. That has been the goal. I would love to have a couple of acres, but like many of you, that has been out of reach a little bit. And many people, just buying a home is out of reach. So I'm grateful and thankful for what I have. I'm trying to be appreciative, more appreciative, because I have found myself saying, oh, I wish it was bigger. And with the challenges that I've had this year, physically, it hasn't been easy to get out into the garden. And so a few things have suffered, but for the most part, I've been eating. I've been enjoying eating. I've been canning, and it's been working out. So the 2024 garden, I learned a lot about working with the limitations, not beating myself up when things don't go the way I thought that they would. For instance, starting seed or harvesting, all the things. I incorporated a lot more herbs this year. Not all of my herbs grew, but what did grow grew. And I've been harvesting left, right, and center. And the goal is to be able to utilize what you grow. And so I've had to tell myself that it's okay if I wasn't able to accomplish everything. There are plenty of successes and far less failures. I did show you all some of the lessons learned. I hate to call them failures, but lessons learned. Let's just change the verbiage. I did have some lessons learned, and I learned that when I can accomplish it, it's going to be a lesson learned. Watering was an issue. I had to run a couple of different lines. I really could use a whole new zone, in all honesty, but I only have three zones, 2 in the back and 1 in the cut flower garden. The zone that I have for the front yard and the memorial garden, that comes from the front yard. So I've had to run more irrigation. I've added more growing containers. I've taken a few containers out. I've added some larger containers. So the lessons I've learned is to be patient with myself, to not be so hard on myself, to make sure that if I am going to sow a seed, to do my best to be on top of that seed, from sowing to germination to repotting if I didn't direct sow it, to growing and feeding and then harvesting. And that's a whole lot of stuff in between in there. But those are some of the lessons that I've learned. Sometimes I can't do all the things, and I would love to be able to do all the things that my little heart sets out to do, but I cannot. And I've had to learn that lesson the hard way this year. I've had to sit down, and that's difficult for me. And I learned that it is possible to create your own fertilizer and compost. I've been creating compost for several years now. If I can think about it, I'll also add that playlist so that you can see compost if you're interested in composting and you are trying to figure out how you can do it in the space that you're in. I started composting when I lived in North Texas, and I started in a rental property in a trash can. I still have the trash can even though I bought a home. I have a trash can because I have challenges in this home that I have never had ever. And this is the 3rd home that I've purchased. And so I'm still dealing with those challenges. I don't know if you've seen any previous videos, but there are rodents in my neighborhood. First, I thought it was just something that I was doing, that my food, that my water was bringing in the rodents. And then I had to stop and think about what's going on around me. You know, I live in an area that used to be farmland. Actually, it's still farmland. But the farmer has been selling off large portions of his land so that homes can be built. And he still has a lot of land over there. There are, I want to say, 3 new developments. One on the side of me and one behind us that is going up. The one on the side, they're actually putting up homes. They've got about 5 homes going up right now. The one behind, they broke ground and they're putting in, I guess, water and sewage. I've been seeing them putting in all the pipelines and things like that. I live in an area where we have gas, so I haven't seen anything like that, but I have seen them open up a line for water. So they've tapped the water. So they have nothing built over there yet. They were doing all the underground stuff. No foundations have been built over there yet. But there's a lot of digging. And I believe that because of those areas, and I think they're even putting a business over there somewhere, a little ways further down from my home. I keep looking over there, y'all. I do apologize. I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. They're building they put a strip mall, and they knocked down some other land, or they leveled out some other land. I don't know what's going there, but I think that's going to also be some form of business. And so they're doing a lot of digging in and around where I live. And because of that, I've had to learn to figure out what to do with pests in the garden. The kind of pests that you just can't spray some BT on. The kind of pests that neem oil does nothing for. So I've been dealing with that. And my neighbors have been, I think, ignoring that. I've put up notices on the mailbox. I've contacted the homeowners association. They put out a blast email to everyone. I don't know for certain what my neighbors are doing because I haven't spoken to all of them. I have spoken to only 2 of them. 4 of them. I had to think about that for a second. And I know only 2 of those 4 have actually put out bait for the rodents in the area. But I am still getting rodents in the area. Now, what I can say is that I have not witnessed any of my food going missing. I walk my garden almost every single solitary day, and I'm going to do a pivot for just a moment. If you are gardening cannot be a plant it and let it go kind of activity. You've got to walk your garden. You've got to prune your garden. You've got to water and feed your garden. Your garden needs adequate sun. It needs adequate shading. There's so much that goes into gardening. If you want a crop of whatever it is you've sown, you've got to do some work. And I don't want any new gardener to believe that gardening is just you put a seed in whatever type of soil medium and you don't have to do anything besides that, because that is the furthest from the truth. I spend more time thinking about compost and making sure that all the food that's in my home doesn't go to waste and no one's throwing anything out. I'm making sure that when I'm thinking about compost, all of the toilet paper rolls and the paper towel rolls and any paper towels that have just been used for drying off hands don't go into the municipal trash. It goes into the compost can. I drive my family crazy, but I think it's good for the environment. It is good for our household. I saw an article, actually it was not an article, it was a clip on Instagram talking about, I think it was Switzerland, how they offered up to their village chickens. They were offering every household either 1 or 3 chickens. Whomever wanted the chicken could get 1 to 3 chickens. And they were talking about the statistics about if every household or the vast majority of household had their own chickens that they were growing, not growing, but their chicken husbandry. What do y'all call that? Because my brain is drawing a blank when you're farming your own chickens. I don't know. I can't think. My brain is going to a blank because I'm keeping an eye on the clock and I'm watching people walk by, trying to make sure nobody's sneaking up on me because I'm just sitting in the car. But yes, they were talking about how people did take these chickens and that now their egg production in the store is less because so many people in their village. And if you're not familiar with most European countries, they call their subdivisions, like we do here, they call them villages. And so they've got little villages all around. And and they were talking about how if Americans would do the same thing, if we had more people raising, that's the word I was thinking about, y'all. If more people raised chickens, that our need to purchase $4 and $5 and $6 and $7 cartons of eggs would not be our reality. If we needed to have a chicken for roasting, we would be able to butcher our birds because we would learn that, and we would have less need off of the store and those who do those things to provide us those foods. And I thought that's really smart. And I haven't lived in Europe in about almost 7 years. I incorporate things in my life. A lot of the ways that I incorporate, I got from living abroad, living in Asia. I lived in Asia for a good amount of my life. I lived in Europe in several different places in a good time in my life. And if we incorporated some of those principles, I think that we would be so much better off. So I've been focusing on making sure that my home is as efficient as I can make it at this time, meaning making sure that the food does not go into the municipal trash. I compost almost everything to the point to where I only put out my municipal trash cans maybe twice a month. I don't have anything that I'm really throwing away. I have no food that I'm throwing away. The green waste can is only stuff from the garden that I don't want to put in my compost bin because there might be something wrong with it. And I wait for my cans to be all the way full in order to throw them out because there's nothing in there that's rotting, that's smelling, that's drawing any pests. And so I'm paying for a service I don't really use. And I thought about that last month. I'm like, I only put the trash cans out maybe once or twice a month because I don't have much that I throw out. I recycle my all cardboard that can be recycled is recycled in the garden. It goes to either be used as a weed barrier, or it goes into my worm bin, or it goes into my compost bin out back. And so I've learned a lot of lessons this year, and I really hope that me sharing my experience with you all prompts you, if you're not doing it, to start thinking about doing it. You don't have to actually have a compost like I do. I do know there are plenty of content creators who do in-ground. They dig a hole, they dump their food waste and everything else in the hole, cover it up, and they let it be. That might be something that works for you. I've learned how to make my own fertilizers, from all-purpose fertilizers to bone meal. I don't make blood meal because I don't eat red meat. I don't always have bones, so I've had to ask for family and friends if they're eating something that consists of bones, if they would share those bones with me. So because I don't eat it, I don't have it. But yeah, I make a liquid fertilizer. When I go and buy fish from the fishmonger, and I ask to pick up the cast-offs for the day. They used to give them to me for free, but they've gotten economical, and so now they're selling the stuff they just throw in the garbage. So I get that, and I make my own fish fertilizer. That way I no longer have to go to the store and purchase fish fertilizer. I am going to be making some more of that in the coming I might start another bucket next month. I'm not all the way low, but I do want to have another 5-gallon bucket, because that 5-gallon bucket of fish fertilizer does last quite a while. So I'm going to start another one. I'm growing comfrey in the ground so that I can make liquid fertilizer. Any weed that I pluck out of the garden, out of my front yard, out of any of my side, I have only one side yard that's got grass. I pluck the weeds and I put that into my liquid fertilizer bucket. I don't live near a body of water anymore, so I can't go and get seaweed. So what I do is I buy a kelp meal and I use that. I put that in my liquid fertilizer buckets as well. I do buy granular fertilizer. You all, if you've watched my videos, you know that I do buy granular fertilizer, but I'm buying less granular fertilizer. But I do that because I want to make sure that my plants are being fed at every month of the year, every interval. They're getting feed, some kind of feed, because there are times that I found this year that during the summer months, I wasn't able to get out there and feed my liquid feed like I needed to. So what I did was I made sure I put my granular feed in my containers, and the plants were still loving it and growing. I've even fed my banana plants real food. When I was planting my baby bananas, I had some chicken that I had canned. I had some salmon cast-offs, the skin and some stuff that I didn't use that I used to give to the dogs. I didn't have the dogs anymore, so I fed that to the bananas. And the bananas, the trunk of the banana is this big. I mean, my bananas are 3 and 4 feet tall, and I just bought that banana this year. They're in a container, of course, not in the ground, but that banana is just amazing. So I have a lot of lessons that I've learned this year. I just wanted to share a few of them with you all. Again, I wish I could put my trees in the ground, my peach tree and my plum tree and my fig tree. I wish I could get those in the ground, but I'm fearful that the roots of those trees would affect the foundation of my home. Because if you've seen my videos, you know that the backyard is pretty full, so I just don't have anywhere other than where those trees are to put those trees. And I don't want them to grow their roots close to the house. I don't want their roots to infiltrate my patio that I had laid a couple months back and then mess up that. So I don't want that. So that's another reason why I have not put the trees in the ground, because I don't believe their roots are going to stay where they're placed. I think over time they will end up being a problem. My neighbors have trees. Some of them have 2. I've got neighbor on the left-hand side of me has 2 trees in their backyard. The one on the right has 1 tree. The one behind me, I think he took all of his trees out, but the neighbors behind on the side of him, they have trees. So there's going to come a time that the roots of those trees are going to seek out water. And because I have a garden and I've continually put wood chip down, my ground is moist. You could see that when you look at my pumpkin patch. I have not watered that pumpkin patch since this summer, like midsummer. I stopped watering it, and it has done everything it's done without any help from me. And so I'm just fearful that those trees are going to eventually their roots are going to infiltrate my yard, and I'm going to have tree roots sucking up all of the moisture from my garden. I am putting things in the ground. You all have seen, hopefully if you've watched my videos, I have a castor plant that is taller than my house. I did not realize that castor plant was going to get that big. That's not what the packet said. But that castor plant was very happy, and it decided it wanted to grow, and grow. And it is still growing. The weather is cooling off. I do believe it is going to die. It's supposed to die. But we shall see how that works out. I am not going to do anything to it. So we're going to see. But yeah, I've learned a lot this year. There are many more plants that I want to put in my garden, and I will be taking you all into my grow space in the garage here next month. And I'll be starting my spring garden seeds in there. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than I did last year. So we're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to hopefully have an even prosperous 2025. That is the goal. I want to utilize eating from my garden more than eating from what I purchased at the grocery store. And this year, and I'm going to leave you all with this year, I have gone to the grocery store to buy food about 4 times. And that's because I didn't need anything as far as vegetables are concerned. I did go to the wholesale food market to buy some things that I wanted to can that my garden didn't produce. Like I didn't grow cucumbers, and I wanted to make some relish. So I got that. I wanted to use the cucumbers to make juice. I juiced them, and that worked just fine. I did not grow onions the way I would like to have grown onions, so I bought onions from the wholesale food market. So there were some things I did buy from the wholesale food market. For me, that is separate than just going to the regular grocery store and buying from the produce market. I have bought produce from the grocery store on 4 separate occasions this entire year, and I feel amazing behind that. It feels amazing. I feel great. It feels amazing because that's money I didn't have to spend. I already had what items I would use for lettuce, like Swiss chard, like kale, like Malabar spinach, like Okinawan spinach, longevity spinach. I had all these things to utilize as I would have utilized a leafy green salad. And I've actually grown leafy greens. I had a Paris Island growing lettuce. I had a Merlot lettuce growing. I actually had a Merlot lettuce reseed itself in a place right now that I wasn't expecting for it to be. So I am eating Merlot lettuce right now, and I didn't plant it. I planted that in the spring. And so I feel good about it. And if you are interested in growing a garden, I recommend you start today because the lessons learned are amazing. And once you get the basics down, your garden just takes off. Now, I'm not going to say that everything does well, because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just a combination of reasons. It could be sunlight. It could be the soil. It could be the food. It could be water. It could be any number of things. It could be pest pressure that could make your plants not survive where they're placed. Or it could just be a good placement and they thrive, like my okra, like my longevity spinach, like my castor plant. All of it has done well. And so I'm hoping that 2025 will do just as well. And so I've got to run because I'm getting text by my colleague, and it's time for me to roll back into the office. So I want to say thank you all for sitting with me in the car today and listening to my rambles about the garden, what I learned, what was good, what wasn't good. You all have seen it all. I hope you stay with me in 2025. If you have not subscribed to the channel, think about subscribing to the channel. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And so I hope to see you. Before I say that, leave me a comment. I do answer all those who send me comments. It may take me a minute, but I do respond. So until the next video, I hope to see you either in my kitchen or my food forest real soon. Bye for now.